everyone, and welcome to the new episode of Entrepreneurship Lab. This is your host, Nevena Bajalat, welcoming you once again. And today I have a special guest. As you know, we always bring you on entrepreneurs with real experience, real stories, and real success, hands-on experience. And my guest today is coming from US. His name is Justin Cook, and Justin has built an Inc5000 company. He built several companies, and today we're going to talk about journey. What does it take for you to get on that Inc list? Justin, welcome to the show, and thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me on, Evan. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so I would always like to start with asking you personally. I read your bio and everything, but I would love to hear a little bit about your background, how you started as an entrepreneur, what got you there, because I love to hear what kind of mindsets or struggles or problems people have, because when we're at the beginning of the journey, sometimes it's really encouraging seeing others who succeeded. They went through similar things. So tell us a little bit about the beginnings for you.
Yeah, so my business partner and I were working in an SEO company in the US, and we'd had a previously failed business agreement relationship where we ran a mortgage company. And, we tucked our tails between our legs and took jobs at an SEO company. And so we were working in the US and kind of like mid-level management. And something that we'd learned from the previous mortgage business was we had an assistant that worked for us in the Philippines. She was amazing. We were like, look, this kind of like outsourced labor could be a thing. So we went to our employers and said, look, we've got this connection in the Philippines. We think we can really kind of scale up the company over there. We want to separate ourselves from the company. We're going to leave the company, but we can provide outsourced work for you from the Philippines. And we kind of pitched them on it, and they went for it. So my business partner and I moved to the Philippines, set up an office, and kind of got everything started on the ground, having never lived there before and only had a connection in the Philippines. We'd visited once to visit the team over there, and like we just moved over there and started off. And so we ran our outsourcing company, and eventually that turned into what is now Empire Flippers. And so part of that outsourcing company, we started building these small niche websites that make $100 a month, $200 a month, and we realized there's a real interest in buying or acquiring these profitable websites. So people started buying small websites from us. Eventually, other people came to us and said, look, you got all these people buying websites. Can I sell my website with you? And so it went from my business partner and I, selling our own sites that we were creating to selling larger and larger deals. So $20,000 websites, $100,000, $500,000 website. To date, our largest website sold was just under $14 million. So wow. We've done in total just under $500 million in total sales. And then obviously we get a commission on any of the sales that we do. We built our team up to approximately 50 people. As you mentioned, we were on the Inc5000. I think we debuted at like 160, and that's dropped off since. Basically, the Inc is a list based on growth. So yes. How quickly you're growing your business over the last 3 years, they take that into account. And so when we started, we were just on rocket ship, and it slowed down as we got larger.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that. That's very impressive. But I want to just continue a little bit with the beginnings and maybe some struggles you have, because we always hear the success stories and there's millions of dollars. And then I know from personal experience, when I started, everything seems that it's going very slow, or a lot of people that come to me at the beginning, right? We really need some patience. We need to go through certain things to learn. And it doesn't happen overnight. Everyone has a different story and different journey. But I would like to know maybe how long does it took you guys from the moment you started to, let's say, you scaled to first million, and also what are some struggles you really had, maybe on a personal level, or even the challenges you had team?
Yeah, I kind of skipped over this part, and that was like an 8-year, 10-year journey or something I gave in like a minute and a half. But when we were starting off, we moved to the Philippines originally, and we set up this office in the Philippines, and like the cultural differences were significant. So we struggled a bit with that, trying to like work with the team and work with the crew. Part of the struggle was transitioning from an outsourcing company to kind of building our own sites. We didn't do that because it was the smartest idea. We did it because our previous employer closed down the business we had going for them. So they originally agreed to it, and they found themselves in trouble. This is like 2010 timeframe. So they found themselves in trouble financially. And, one of the first people they cut off are going to be outsourcers. They're going to cut off the kind of like, non-internal team. And so we went from crushing it with them to them cutting back, cutting back, cutting back. It got to the point where we built up this office, we bought all this furniture in this office, and we were considering shutting down the office because we couldn't afford it anymore. So, just to paint the scene, right?
Yes, thank
My,
you.
my
Because sometimes you just jump to these numbers, and I'm like, okay, wait, let me explain to
yeah, yeah,
people that
yeah.
this is not a journey in a minute and a half. It's like you said, 8 to 10 years. So,
No,
yeah,
yeah. So my business partner and I were living together in a townhouse, right? I think it was, I don't know, we were paying $600 a month in rent or something. Our costs were super low in the Philippines. So we were living in this townhouse and we had this office that we had to pay rent on, electricity, and crazy internet bills. And it got to the point where we didn't have enough money to really keep the office open. And so we were considering shutting the office, but we were like, if we're going to shut the office, what the hell are we doing over here? Like this is not good for us. Why are we even bothering? Why don't we just go back to the US? And so, we're making a few thousand, maybe $3,000 a month each. And like that's kind of the bare minimum we want, being in the Philippines and being so far from home. And I still had a storage unit in the US. And Joe was thinking about going back. I was thinking about going back, pulling my stuff out of storage and like getting an apartment and licking my wounds and trying to get a job. And this is into 2010 or so, maybe middle of 2000. No, early 2010. And we were like, what are we gonna do? Like, well, maybe we'll just have everyone work remote. We'll have the people that work for us at AdSense Flippers, which became Empire Flippers. We'll have everyone work from home. Maybe we can manage a company remotely. And we felt like losers because we were like, if we were legitimate, we'd have real office. We'd be able to continue
yes,
with
that
how
was
we're
still the
working.
time where like nobody believed if a business doesn't have an office.
Yeah, and so we felt like it was fake. Like we're just faking it. Like what kind of losers are we that we have to shut down the office? So it was really kind of a distressing time for us, and we were wondering whether it was going to work. I mean, turns out our company now today is totally remote. We have everyone working remotely. We have Americans working in Prague. We have like just people totally remotely. But at the time, that was it was nerve-wracking. And so that was for us, that was a really difficult time, is like having to shut down the office and not know whether we're going to be able to continue in business. Yeah, and it was troubles between my business partner and I. Like we really struggled. Like what do we do? I was motivated, like let's crush it, and he was like, I don't know, kind of like we're both 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And there were some conversations we had. We said, look, we're going to make this work or we're not. And like if it's not, then worst thing happens, we go back to the US, throw our tail between our legs, and go find a job and do the best we can. But we've got this, we're here. Like we didn't exactly burn the boats behind us, but we're in the Philippines now. Let's try to make this work. And so I think that was the kind of like the conversation that prompted us just really hustle it up and see what we could do.
Yeah. And just for the audience to understand, when you started, you said you were outsourcing. So was it like a virtual assistant? Was it building websites? What exactly services did you guys provide?
Yeah, so back-end office services, and this is part of the problem with our outsourcing company when we set it
Mm,
up, is we were trying to be anything to everyone. And so, we would take a client and they would say, can you do this? And we go, we'll figure it out, right? And our kind of like pitch was, we're Americans, we come from the same culture, we're from the same place, but we're on the ground here and we can help
yeah.
make it happen. And so that was the pitch. And it got us clients. But the problem is because we would do anything for everyone, we couldn't do anything terribly effectively. Like if we were the dental paperwork outsourcing company or whatever, like that's super niche. It's cheap and easy to find clients. We could have just crushed it because we know that domain so well. I don't know if that's a good domain. I don't know if that's,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's better, is to like super niche down and like we are these guys. We do dental back office paperwork processing all day. That's what we do all day. Oh, you want us to do call center stuff? We don't do that, right? That's just it's much easier to be very specific in your niche. And that was something we failed at there. And so when we pivoted and we changed the outsourcing company to what became Empire Flippers, we're like, look, here's what we do. At the time we were building small niche AdSense sites. We didn't do anything else. We didn't do e-commerce. We just did niche AdSense sites. That's what we do. So it's the blue suede shoes, right? Pretend we sell blue suede shoes. You want, red sneakers? Nope. That's not what we do. Blue suede shoes is what you get. And so that was helpful for us in kind of coming up. And eventually, once you start in a very specific niche, you can expand. It takes time and there's effort and a learning curve, but it's much easier to go from one specific thing that you crush it at to adding a different vertical and then another vertical. And now you've kind of had an expanded product line or service line.
Yeah, and I mean, thank you for that. That's a really great experience you had, because sometimes I feel when we put focus on too many things, we get nothing. And like you said, we don't provide excellent service. And I believe if you want to outsource and build a team as well, then it was easier for you because you know exactly what people have to be trained on, and you can create a process. I believe in processes and systems and being clear how things are done, and then you can just multiply that. And if you get more clients, you know how many people can do stuff and how fast. So what happened afterwards?
I was
Yeah.
gonna say that the processes and systems, like, standard operating procedures, SOPs, that was a
Yeah.
big part of going from Joe and I doing everything to hiring people and getting them in place to do it. At first, it's, you muddle through and you hire them and they're kind of working directly with you and you just show them how it works, and you don't have SOPs, standard operating procedures.
Yes.
You just kind of have to, like, okay, here's how I do it. Now you do it. But eventually, as you train more and more people, you realize, oh, we need like actual processes documented and written out, because maybe I can train one person, but how is that person going to train? It turns into a bad game of telephone. And if
Yes.
you have, trainers training other people, eventually you need a way to like standardize the procedure. And so that's really
Yes.
helpful, SOPs. And you don't need some crazy like software solution. You don't have to pay some monthly fee. Google Docs. Google Docs works.
Yes.
That's perfectly fine to start off.
Yes, our old school printed handbook, operations manual, and write everything. This is how we communicate with clients. This is step one, step two, and I love that because I'm a junkie for operations and standardizing. That's something I do as a consultant for so many companies. And like you said, I'm observing right now in Dubai, we work with so many companies, and we're observing how CEOs are running, to the receptionist, and they're like, "Oh, don't pick up the phone like that and speak like this," and I'm like, you're the CEO like of really like a growing big successful company. This is not how things should be run. And but that's great. I mean, because that's the learning experience. And I think when you start growing fast, you're not aware, but then at some point you realize, oh, this has to be standardized, because
Well,
that's the only way to grow.
Well, that's a really good reason to, like, we're all in our own heads as entrepreneurs, and you kind of like, there are certain things you do really well and maybe certain things you
Yes.
don't do as well. And you don't really know because we're just like focused on our own business and what's going on. And so that's why I think it's really good to have, like, I'm a fan of masterminds. And so when
Yes.
you're in a mastermind, you're talking to other people and you're like, oh, I pay this person this much. And they're like, what? That's like 3 times what I'm paying. And I got that, you're like, oh, I didn't realize you could do that. Or you would do it a certain way and they're like, no, 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 you need to, and you're like, oh wow, that's, so it's a really good way to like get inside information from other people that are going through very similar struggles.
Yes, absolutely. So tell us what happened next. What was one thing that you take? Was it the one thing, or was it several things that brought you to success of where you guys went and where you guys are when you went to, let's say, to Inc5000 list?
Yeah, so
But was there something specific except to focusing on the niche? Something else that was really helpful to get there?
yeah, I'd say we were a little slow on hiring, and we didn't scale nearly as quickly as we could have initially. And the fact is we were bootstrapped, right? We didn't raise any money. We didn't have like a real need to grow. And so the risk, and the costs and the money was all on us. And so we were very kind of cautious in terms of like expanding quickly. And so we hired one person and then wait a year and then they're going to leave. And so we'd hire someone else and try to like really slow growth. And we probably could have done that faster. But I think, particularly in the early days, when we added people, we saw our revenue jump. And like it was a direct correlation between adding staff, adding people to work for us, and then seeing revenue boosts and revenue boosts. And so looking back, like that was directly attributed to like needing to hire faster. So that's something we probably
Yeah.
would have done differently looking back. But again, you fumble a bit if you're new to
Yeah.
hiring and new to building a team. You kind of got to figure out how that works. And so maybe scaling a whole bunch of people too quickly could have been problematic too. So I still think we could have done a little bit faster, but that was, I think, really instrumental. Once we kind of got the hiring down and had a team in place and eventually started developing like a leadership team early. I mean, I wouldn't even call it that. It's just kind of like your project leads and your kind of like
Yes.
team leaders that eventually became like our middle management. That was quite helpful, I think.
Yes, absolutely, because you can outsource so many things to them. Thank you, Justin. So I would love to just hear a little bit more what you guys do at Empire Flippers. You mentioned you're buying websites, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't understand or know that they can sell the websites and that buying online businesses can be very profitable. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so people come to us and they say, look, we know you have this like huge audience of people that are looking to buy websites and online businesses. Can you help me sell my business? And sure, I mean, that's what we do. So we can broker the sale of any internet company that you have, and this can be an e-commerce business, affiliate site, direct to consumer e-commerce brand, FBA, Kindle publishing businesses, any kind of online business presence we can help you sell. And we operate typically in the range of, on the low end, $40,000, $50,000 up to, as I said, $15 million, depending. And we take a
Yeah,
sliding scale in commissions. The larger it is, the smaller the commission we take. So yeah, we have a huge network of people looking to buy these types of businesses, and they range from individuals looking to kind of like add to their portfolio to like partnerships where they have like an investor and a couple of operators, up to larger family offices and private equity funds. So there's a kind of a wide range of people that buy these types of sites. Now, some people ask, like, why would I buy an online business? It must be kind of crappy, or like, there must not be any more juice to squeeze from that. And sometimes that's true. But really, where we operate is like in the kind of disconnect. A lot of times sellers, they think, look, I got this business up to earning $5,000-$6,000 a month in profit. I've squeezed this grate for all the juice it has, right? And you have a buyer that goes, look, I don't even get out of bed unless that business is making $8,000 to $10,000 a month. I'll take a flyer on this one, buy it, because I think I can turn it into $10, $12, $15,000 a month business, right? And so, the seller thinks it's max. The buyer's like, well, they haven't done, any kind of like, they haven't done
yeah,
any kind of display ads or whatever. They have like a whole channel that they haven't even explored that I know really well, or like I'm an SEO expert, like I can really improve the SEO in this business. And so the seller thinks, oh, I'm getting a great deal because this buyer's buying it, it's maxed out. And the buyer's like, this person doesn't know what they have. And so that's kind of, and there's other reasons people sell for, the sad reasons, right? Getting a divorce, business partner breakup. You have like, you probably have this situation or seen people with it, Nevin, where like, they have a couple of businesses. One is crushing it and super like cash intensive. They need money. And
yeah,
so like an e-commerce brand, you're constantly dumping the inventory. They've got this other business that's a nice cash flow. They sell that, they can really expand this other business. So they're basically selling off one so they can focus on the one that has high growth. So
yeah,
lots of reasons people sell. Sometimes, they think it's maxed out. Sometimes they've got life, getting in the way. Yeah, lots. The worst are like the partnerships or the kind of relationship breakups, because you're
yeah.
dealing with like multiple decision makers. And so a partnership that's gone bad and trying to get them both to agree on selling the business can be
Yeah.
tricky. Yeah.
And I mean, for let's say, I don't know, it's possible to buy a online business if, let's say, we're looking to invest in real estate from investor point of view, and we want some passive income. If this online business is running and even gets $3,000 or $6,000, to find an online a website, right? It's going to cost much less than buying a house that's going to give you $3,000. So it's kind of like investing to get the passive income because the business is already running. So you just have to take existing thing. And I think it was eye opening for me when I first time learned about this, because I also was not like understanding that this is even happening. And then I was like, wow, this is so amazing, because for such a small investment we can get a passive income of something immediately, and let's
Yeah.
say, for example, in real estate, it's going to take much bigger investment, so it's really
Perfect.
good for a lot of entrepreneurs.
Perfect example. I bought a rental property here in Texas. It was about $630,000, and it rents for $4,200 a month. Right? Okay, pretty good. Not bad for the U.S. typically. But that's not net. That's all fees. That's
Yeah.
the total rent or whatever, and there's expenses and stuff in
Yes.
there too.
Yes.
Yeah, a business, an online business making $4,200 a month will sell for around 100, let's say 100 to $140,000, not $630,000,
Yes.
and that's net profit. So yeah, it's significantly better returns for online business. Now I want to clear something up. What we ran into this problem where Like the only people we can sell to, it's not passive income. Let me state that. It's not
Yeah.
passive income. So you're buying a business, you're going to have to run it. There's content requirements. If it's a service business, you got services you need to deliver. There's like ongoing marketing, there's brand awareness. Like there's lots of things to do. And a lot of people don't have the skills or the time to run an online business. And maybe it only takes 10 hours a week, but they don't know how to do it. My aunt is a good example. I use her all the time. My poor aunt. But she was asking me, she knew what we were doing. She's like, how can I buy one of these businesses? And I was like, sorry, aunt, I'm not gonna say her name. You can't. I mean, you've never done this before. You should try to build a site first, build an online business, get the skills, and then you can do it. And so we had this problem a lot, Nevin, where
Mm.
people were like, I want to buy a business. I've got the cash, but I don't have the skills or the time. Can I do it? And we're just like, no, sorry, come back to us when you do. And we realized we're like throwing all this money away. Where other people like $300,000 to invest that, are looking for something and they can't do it. So we actually splintered off a company. So it started off as EF Capital, and now we call it WebStreet, webstreet.co. And what this does is it pairs just people looking for passive income with actual experienced operators, right? So they can invest in the operators, and the operators buy and run those businesses. So one of the cool things over the years, at Empire Flippers, we've seen all these people, we've seen their financials and how well they've done and what experience they have and like what success they've had. And we've been able to like hand select the best operators to pair them up with investors who can then run those businesses. And so we've done that for about 3 years now or so. We've done about 30 million invested on 6 different rounds. We do different rounds, and investors can individually pick and choose the operators they're going to work with and the businesses they're going to buy. So it was like this high quality problem we need to solve. There's people with a bunch of money, no skills or time, want to buy a business, but can't do it. Like, how do we serve their needs? And so that's one of the cool things, Nevin, about just being in business is you start to see problems to solve, right? You start to
Yes.
see, okay, this is something that like people are struggling with. Like we're my business partner and I are a little slow. I mean, in multiple ways, but like it takes us a while. People have to like bang down our door saying, hey guys, you should offer this. And then we realize, oh, wow, yeah, we might be able to make some money with this. You know what I mean? So like, eventually we get it when they hammer us hard enough about it.
I love your honesty. Yes, but that's really what entrepreneurship is, right? You are in touch with the customers, you're in touch with people you're working with, and you're just discovering, wait, if like once a week or twice a week people ask me about this and ask me about this, it means they're having a problem. So it's like a signal that we can create a solution to their problem and offer and have a different offering in our company. So that's really amazing way to expand, and thank you for sharing that. And I would love to wrap up with maybe a last tip you would give to entrepreneurs who are looking to scale and grow, something that you learn from your experience and that we haven't mentioned.
Well, I mentioned already, but yeah, don't be so slow to hire.
Mm.
Um, there's real magic that comes when look. Here's the perfect business, right, Nevin? The perfect business would be a money that has no employees, right? No team, that just rains down cash, and you personally sit back, collect checks, collect wires, and it just magically makes money. Now, there are some businesses like that. There's a couple, these like magical unicorn businesses, but that's not the business for most of us. And you know this, working with a bunch of different companies. Most businesses require people, they require teams, they require processes for 99% of us. So it behooves you, that's a funny word, behooves you to get really good at hiring people, working with people, training people, building future leaders in your company and outside your company, because that's a skill that's going to serve you very, very well long term. As you grow and scale, hiring, retaining, and like developing your internal team and your future leaders was critical to our success.
Yeah. And how did you overcome? I just have a follow-up question. How did you overcome? I see a lot of people coming to me that are, we start as freelancers and then you're used to doing everything on your own. And first you're feeling, oh, is this worth it? I have to now invest this money into paying a salary to someone else. and train them, and it's time consuming and also finances. But also I feel a lot of people came to me with a problem of trust, right? And trusting to someone to delegate that. So how did you guys have problem with trust, and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, so a lot of times entrepreneurs think they are the only, like they're so proud of the work they do, and they're a little anal, right? So they're like, look, no one can do it as good as me. I got the process. It's all in my head. I can bang it out. And so when you force yourself to kind of document the process, you realize, okay, there is a kind of like, it's not rocket science. I mean, even
Yes.
rocket science is absolutely process. So even if it
Yes.
was rocket science, you need to document that process. You need to chunk it out. You need to have this chunk and that chunk and that chunk, right? So there's a step-by-step process to be done. So one of the things you do, you realize when you're creating that process and you're documenting your process, is that you can give those chunks to people. And so if you're worried about just giving away the secret sauce to
Mm,
everyone, I
yeah.
wouldn't worry about that, by the way. I wouldn't worry about that too much, because in most cases, the person that's working for you is not going to just steal your stuff and go. But if you are worried about it, at least you're giving them chunks. You're not giving them the whole shebang. If that's
Yeah.
a nervous point for you, give them pieces of it. So they're doing pieces of the process, not the entire process, soup to nuts. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Justin, so much. We're going to make sure to put a link for people that if they want to connect with you, hear more about your company, buying or selling their websites or buying online businesses. Thank you again for being here, and thank for all the listeners for listening. I'm sure you got so much value. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, like the episode, download it, and share it with at least one person that's going to benefit from this information. Thank you for listening, and I see you in the next episode.